Welcome, folks, to the second webinar in our supply community. By the end of today, we will have brought you up to speed with our upcoming growth strategy. Our role here at the Big Red Group is to extend your reach and broaden your audience and bring new customers to your products and raise awareness of your products and experiences. Joining me today, we have the two Matts. We've got Matt Cavalier and Matt Gudge. Matt Cavalier has a big background in strategic direction and growth strategies for companies including EMI Music and American Express and Morgan Stanley. And it's really been a pleasure to work with Matt to drive growth within the business. Whilst Matt Gudge is he's the Don Draper of the organisation. He's had a huge history in working in marketing and advertising with big name organisations such as WPP and Leo Burnett. So yep, again, some real big talent here. Handing over to Matt Cavalier, who will give you a broad overview of his role and the role of the growth team at BRG.
Cool, thanks Stephen. Good morning, everyone. As Stephen said, I'm Matt Cavalier. Really pleased to be here this morning and actually to be able to speak to so many of our supply partners. I try to get around and see people one by one. That's sometimes difficult and time consuming. So to have everyone on a call is actually really special. And I just want to thank everyone because it does take time out of your day, and I know that you are busy. So really want to thank you for taking the time to listen to us today and participate in a discussion with us today. So also this morning I was getting ready and I realized that for about the first time in 4 months I've actually put on a belt. So I thought, well, that's a win. So I'm kind of getting out of the house and actually be able to engage with people. Again, it's over Zoom, but it's a different way of engaging. And the putting on the belt was not just about putting on the belt, but it was that I didn't have to let it out another notch. So I thought, oh, even after COVID being locked down for so many months, the belt still can tighten to where it used to be. So I felt like I was winning this morning. So that's enough about me, but let me tell you a little bit about the growth organization. And I guess there's the theme in terms of winning as well. So I'll tell you about the growth organization. I'll tell you about some of our objectives and then how we achieve that. So we formed the organization back in January of this year. And really what we look after in the team is everything from performance marketing, CRM, e-commerce, retail operations, product management. And in our world, in an e-com business, product management is really the digital experience that customers have when they come to us. Customer experience, creative service and creative studio, and our marketing and partnerships organization, which Matt leads, and he's going to speak to you a bit about that in a minute. But really, I think we have, we look at one main objective within growth, and that's really about driving the right audience to the right brand and to have the right experience. So we drive audience in a number of different ways. We have quite sophisticated performance marketing capabilities, and that ranges across organic search as well as paid search. We have an amazing creative studio team and really pumps out that sort of inspiring and engaging content. And to put a plug in for the team, they did an amazing job for the Christmas campaign in 2018, and they were recognized by Umbrella, which is a big industry body, is having the best Christmas advert campaign. And what's cool about that is it was up against the likes of Woolies and Aldi and everyone else, so big budgets, big brands, and the fact that the creative studio team, which is an in-house team, was able to pull that off for BRG was really a moment that we were all very proud of. We also create that demand and that awareness for the category through our social channels. So we have a number of social channels across the brands with significant engagement and significant following. And so again, there we push through content, and content is really king. And you'll kind of hear that theme come through as we speak this morning, but content is king. We push through that content to continue to engage audiences, to continue to raise awareness about experiences and the experience category specifically. We also then have quite a sophisticated CRM capability. So we have a lot of subscribers across the brands, and the subscribers, again, are very engaged in the comms that we send out. We have a very consistent cadence, and the whole purpose of our CRM strategy is to keep those subscribers engaged, to grow our subscribers, so we continue to grow that owned audience, and actually then to bring that inspirational content, focusing and showcasing the category and specific experiences within those categories. In our marketing and partnership side, we're really privileged from a partnerships perspective. We work with a lot of national partners across Australia, and many of which are household names. So we work with the likes of Bupa, American Express, Woolies. You'll have seen, many of you may have seen, we were just in the Woolies Rewards EDMs that went out. So again, getting the brands out in front and again, promoting the category of experiences. Second piece is we actually have a really big retail gift cards business, and we're probably the only experience provider in Australia that has that presence across Woolies, Coles, Aldi, across the country. So we're in about 8,000 retail outlets across the country. And again, it's really exciting to see the brand, to see that showcase of the experience category and how we help to bring that to consumers. The second piece is, really bringing the right audience then to the right brand. And the brands have different purposes and audience come to them for different reasons. There's different buying modalities. So if you look at RedBalloon, it tends to be a much more considered buying process. People may be looking for a gift, something to do on the weekend or a getaway. Adrenaline tends to be a little bit more around the spontaneity and actually looking for something to do kind of now or in the very near future. So getting together with your friends or your family, actually getting out and doing something. And Lime&Tonic, again, that's a totally different buying modality, and the product set is very different as well. And so we really, when we talk about bringing the right customer to the right brand, that brand also, the product set has to reflect that brand. So we spend a lot of time working with the supply team and making sure that the experiences we have are relevant for those brands and they sit on the right brand sites. And then the third piece, as I talked about, is customers having the right experience. So of course, we talk a lot about the on-site experience, and we invest a lot of time and a lot of money into our whole conversion rate optimization. So that's the real customer journey from discovery all the way through path to purchase. And we want to make that as seamless and frictionless as we can. The second piece is really around when you're on site that you have the best redemption experience as well. So we've just released on RedBalloon about a month ago, a new redemption customer journey, which again allows the customer to go through in a very seamless and frictionless way, so that we can get them from having their voucher, their gift card, whatever it may be, all the way through to selecting their experience, booking that experience, and then ultimately taking that experience. And that's where, they kind of land on your doorstep, and we rely on you to carry out that experience and to make sure that that is, the best that it could possibly be. We then review that in the background. We have over 120,000 reviews, I think, on RedBalloon, and roughly about the same on Adrenaline. So we continually monitor customer reviews. We look for things that are amazing, and we promote that on our social channels. And we also look where there's opportunity for, for kind of improvement. And we engage with the supply team very closely to look at how we can improve that experience. And we'll work with you to improve your experience, to make the best experience that it possibly can be. And not only on site, but we also have a customer service team, which is based here in Sydney. And they service 3 channels primarily. So it's phone, email, and chat. And they're really there to help customers, could be in buying decisions, what's the best gift I could buy, or is this experience open? I'm trying to book this experience. How do I do it? Can you confirm that my experience is actually going ahead? So they provide an immense amount of customer service, which again facilitates that whole ease of booking, the ease of redemption, and the ease of actually going on the experience itself. So I think just to give context, in June, the team had about 14,000 contacts. And that's not too out of the ordinary. What we're seeing is that customers are very keen to get out. So we're seeing a lot of demand that's been built up. I mean, it's no surprise. We've all been stuck in our homes and wondering what our belt size is going to be like when we actually have to get dressed to go to work again. But it's kind of not a surprise that there's a lot of pent up demand, and customers are really looking to get out and do experiences again. And they contact us and and say, is this open? Is this available? And we've made a lot of effort, and I know Stephen and his team has worked very closely with the supply community in making sure that we can label products that are open and available on each site, because we want to ensure that when customers do come to site, that they do see that the experience is open and they can actually go on it. So it is really important that as we continue to work with you, that you help us to help our customers in that sense, so that when they come to site, they know it's open, it's easy to book. And I suppose also really around availability. So that's another kind of ask, I guess I would have, is really ensuring that when they come to site, there is availability of products, so that the channel manager is up to date, or your calendars are up to date. Because again, there's nothing worse than coming to site and wanting to do something and not having availability to do it. Or I end up potentially buying something for someone and then looking out and the dates are maybe several months away. It quite often puts off people from wanting to then engage and to continue on that path to purchase or that path to redemption. So, I guess I'm not going to speak too much more because Matt really has the exciting piece of today. So I think just to wrap it up, our goal is really to drive demand. It's really to drive awareness of the experience category. We talk a lot about, and you'll see it quite often, there's a shift in consumer behavior as well. I think that's one of the things that's come out of COVID. We talk a lot about conscious consumption. People need to get out of their house. They need to get their kids off their consoles. And it's really about getting out and exploring and doing things. We know that there's going to be less international travel. People are going to be staying here and traveling locally. So we're just really encouraging and driving that awareness and driving that category piece of saying, you know what, we've got cool stuff to do here in Australia, so why don't you get out and do it? And so that's, it's a big piece of what we do on a daily basis. And I think, as we go into this next phase, what Matt is going to talk about, we're taking a completely different approach to it. And so since I've been here, we've had our Hallmark campaigns and we focus very heavily on those. But what we're really trying to do now is do something completely different and work with you guys to get you guys involved and to work with us. We're in a unique position. We've seen, as I said before, a lot of demand come back, and we've seen a lot of that come through and go right through to the supply community. And we're in a unique position to now sort of accelerate that. And, as Chief Growth Officer, we talk about, in most industry, you talk about bouncing back. And when you bounce back to something, you just kind of got back to where you were. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to take this category and we want to bounce forward. So we want to leave where we were before and we want to go beyond it. And so what Matt's going to talk about is really kind of how we're going to do that within BRG, but also speak to you guys around, well, how do you get involved and how do we do this together? Because we can do part, but we need you guys to do part as well. So if that's cool, I'm going to hand over to Matt.
I'm just going to interrupt for a sec. I've had a few questions come through on my phone. If you did want to ask questions, please go ahead and just put them up on the chats on your screen right now. So you can, we'll have a Q&A at the end where we'll answer any questions, and also we'll talk a bit about Melbourne and the greater Melbourne area. Okay, cheers, Matt.
No worries. Great, thanks, Matt. I think building perfectly off what Matt just said is, as we were looking to bounce forward and look to what we can do as our brands and how we use consumer demand to build our businesses and your businesses, we had one core thought, which was around our responsibility to the category. We're in a very unique position, like Matt said, that we have a huge opportunity to accelerate growth for our whole category and bring fame back to the experiences that Australia has. I think as we were building out what our next step looked like, and we started to understand there were three core insights based on consumers. One really is that there is a pent-up demand. People have been in their house far too long. They are sick of the same four walls, but there is a huge opportunity for us to grab hold of that and get people excited about being outdoors, doing incredible things. The second half of that, which feeds the first, is that there's never been a shift or a focus to domestic tourism like there has now. Yes, it's slightly forced, but actually people are realizing we live in probably one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and we have a plethora of things to do and experiences and incredible places to go. And I think, those two things together make for a perfect storm as we move forward for the year. And then the third point is, we have a whole range that suits that. So actually from a consumer's perspective, there's demand, there's a need to do something locally, and then there are experiences around. So as we started looking to carry that forward and what that meant for our brands, we decided that actually there's a role for us to own and lead the category and move it forward at pace. And to do that, we decided to do something entirely different than we've ever done before. We've created a movement that's bigger than a campaign. We've created a movement that is inclusive. We want and need you guys to get involved. And we'll talk about that more in a second. Also created something that unites our brands under a bigger theme to bring the category back. I think as we think about the insights and we think about our responsibility to not just you guys, but to the broader Australian economy, there's some incredible work that we can now do with your support to bring fame back to that. And what I mean by that is as we launch Make Every Moment Count, which is our new campaign, our new movement into market, we did it on purpose to make it inclusive. You know, it will build our brands and it will build our category and will show off our creative and our product range and our country to millions and millions of eyeballs across the country over the next 6 to 9 months consistently. It will do that in and out of gifting periods. So, you know, it will create awareness of the experience category now while there is high demand to get out and do things. It will put experiences front of mind when we think about gifting and we move into Father's Day, and even more so as we move into Christmas and then out again into summer for our brands, and capturing again that demand, that pent-up requirement, but consistently reminding consumers and capturing eyeballs that experiences in Australia is the way to go. And when we talk about our movement and our inclusivity, what we've done is make something that doesn't talk to, you know, hashtag RedBalloon or hashtag adrenaline, although they play a role. We've created something that we could all use, that we can all talk about, that we can all use in our channels, that can bring fame back to our category, can highlight some of the most beautiful things we have in our country, and can create a conversation. And I think that's probably the core to any movement, is how do we engage and create conversation? You know, and what I mean by that is, you know, we as brands and as products and experiences can push our story out to consumers. And, you know, we do listen, we have reviews, and we consistently hear back from our customers in customer service and that way. But actually, we want you guys involved too. You know, we want to hear what your customers are saying. We want to see on a day-to-day basis or on a week-to-week basis or whatever your sort of cadence is, what your experience looks like. What happens, you know, to your experience in summer or winter or at Father's Day or Christmas. What gets you excited about that? And then also update the content that lives with that platform. And we'll talk about that more in a second. I think as we talk about conversation, you know, and building off Matt's point before, you know, having our conversation, having people engaged is really important, but being able to convert at the bottom of the funnel is going to be fundamental as well. You know, doing all this work to bring fame to a category really is designed to get bums on seats and get people back out into the experiences that we have and that you guys provide. And to do that, you know, we have all of our awareness campaigns that will go across market. Like I said, you know, over the next 6 to 9 months, we'll be investing massively to bring fame. And I really do mean fame. You know, this will reach millions and millions of eyeballs on a very consistent basis at a very high frequency. And then at the same time, you know, drive them to consideration, you know, show them some of what we have to offer as one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and then convert, you know, show them how to buy it and make it as simple as possible, show them it's available, and get them out to you guys as quickly as possible. And when I talk about that and I talk about engagement and you guys getting involved, I think there are 3 key things that I ask, and I'm going to ask them just because I think it's the easiest way, and we can dive more into that in the Q&A if you've got further questions. But I think the first thing is, from a social landscape perspective, we have an immense following, and so do some of you probably, and it's really important that we all work together in that space. So, you know, we have hashtag guidelines around Make Every Moment Count, and use that hashtag to create a whole pool of content in social media that shows off not only your experience, but also inspires other people to consider the experience category as a whole. You can follow our brands and tag our brands in social media where it's relevant for your product, because, you know, we do have an immense reach in social media. So if you tag us and again, start a conversation, there is exposure and reach just in doing that. But also if you tag us in amazing content and, you know, things that you're excited about, there is a likelihood we can pick that up and share it as well. And the second part of that, which builds on the content piece, is make sure the content you give us from a product perspective or a social perspective is as good as it can be. You know, when we are fighting for something against big players like the tourism boards and the hotel chains that are all pushing beautiful content, all beautifully shot, but not necessarily converting into experiences, we have a role to make sure our content cuts through as well. And again, that feeds back to you guys. So when we talk about you guys providing content, and we can help you with this, absolutely. And, you know, reach out to your market managers if it's something you want to talk more about. But think about how it's portrayed. You know, if you land on the RedBalloon website, you can start to see how beautiful we are, what the style is that we use, and the sort of content that cuts through. If you provide content that sits along those lines, there's more opportunities that we'll pick that up as marketers and run it out for you. And I think that's super exciting it gives us the opportunity to, one, promote a beautiful experience, but two, promote your experience. And I think that's a huge opportunity as we move forward. So keep your content up to date, share different content as we move through the different periods if it's relevant. Does your content look different in summer to winter? Does it look different as a gift versus an experience? And keep your market managers up to date with that, and please share as you can. And then the last point is, and Matt's already touched on this, is keep your bookings up to date as best you can. When we talk about customer journeys and keeping them engaged and converted, we do a lot of work at the top of the funnel, but if we can't win where rubber hits the road, which is, booking the experiences and getting out to you guys, we'll lose that customer, or potentially worse, they'll choose something else. And I think, when you guys have the opportunity to convert on site and we get people there with your creative, and then we try to get them out and then there's no availability, either they choose not to do an experience at all or they choose somebody else. So I think there's 3 asks in summary: is share content as best you can, follow us on social and use the hashtags, and we'll give you more detail, and make sure your bookings are up to date as best you can as well. I think going back to wrap up, we want to do this as a category. We can have our point of view and our brand do some of the heavy lifting from a conversation perspective, but we need you to engage as well. We want you to take our assets and our hashtags to make more of a conversation, to make every moment front of mind. So when people do think about experiences or think about what they're going to do this weekend, they think about bigger experiences or better things to do. When they think about gifts, they don't want another thing to put on a wall they've stared at for 4 weeks. Give them an experience. That's what the role of Make Every Moment Count is to consistently keep the experience category front of mind. I think that's probably enough from me, and I'll wrap up there and hand back to Stephen.
Wonderful. Thanks, Matt. Thank you. We've got a few questions, which is great news. Firstly, let's address the Greater Melbourne lockdown and the Victorian lockdown. How might that change, or how has that changed the Make Every Moment Count in Victoria, the campaign?
Sure, I'll pick that up. So as there's some uncertainty in that area and the path to purchase is a bit disjointed, there are a couple of options for us. One is you can luckily buy a gift voucher, and we can inspire people to go out and still find more. So our websites and so on still has a huge role in that space, because you can buy for the future, and there is still huge demand for people to do that and get out and see more. But also we're being really smart with our media. We're not buying out of home and other large media at the moment in that region because we don't want to feel insensitive. That said, our creative is very much about adventure awaits, get out there and do something now or later. So there are opportunities for us to continue to win in Victoria while uncertainty looms. And obviously as that comes out and we start to see a clearer future for that area, we'll then start investing in the media there again.
Yeah. I think what was interesting is when we were in the first phase of lockdown, if we want to call it that, I don't know if that's what it's really referred to now, but when we were all in lockdown, we probably saw higher level engagements on social than we usually do, because people are at home, they're scrolling through. And again, going back to content and having inspiring content and engaging content, people are looking for inspiration. So, while you may be locked down, or you may be, ring fenced in some areas across the country right now, people are still looking for that inspiration. And so we're not going to stop inspiring people, right? We want to get on the front foot and say that, look, when this comes to an end, there are things out there waiting for you. And again, going back to Matt's point around content, it's not just photography, but video. Like, our category lends itself perfectly to video. And the more video content that we can get and that we can work with you guys on either developing or get from you is just the better. And, it has 5 times higher engagement on social channels. Yeah. And a lot of our campaign is really centered around video. Yep. And we look at the Make Every Moment Count movement, it is beautiful, inspiring video. And it's talking about adventure awaits or explore, and it's looking to the future and just giving people something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And as Matt said, as we come into Father's Day, it's a perfect thing to think about for dad. Yeah, let's get out and actually do something with dad, because there's only so many times you can kick the ball around in the backyard with dad for the past 4 months, or, whatever else you've been doing. So, so I think that's, we're very cognizant of what's going on in Victoria, and we monitor that. Some areas are still open. So again, it's very important that we keep that kind of what's open, and we know what's going on there, because customers are still looking to get out and do things. And again, we'll continue to monitor the situation in New South Wales, because again, there's some challenging weeks coming ahead there. So we'll continue to monitor that as well. But it's about inspiring, getting people thinking about the category and not another thing to hang on the wall or another scented candle.
I think it's not our first REDii as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
We went through, we all went through the prior lockdown. The strategy was very much to remain front of mind, but to pivot towards the experiences at home and removing outdoor. So it's not our first REDii. We returned super quick.
Yeah.
At the end of lockdown.
I'll make a point on that as well, which I think, as we move forward as brands, I think part of the reason that we saw such great success and return is our brand. We chose not to stop spending during some of the harder times, and we continue to invest in, the social channels and the other adaptable channels, and saw those learnings and took those from last time. So as we move forward, those learnings will carry on, but also, the brand and the trust that comes along with our brands means that people feel confident to invest in gift vouchers knowing we're not going anywhere in the future.
Yeah, that's right. There's a couple of questions about using video on the site to promote experiences. I think you've talked to that quite extensively, but are there more opportunities for product listing pages to have videos, for example, is a question that came in.
Sure.
So we've done a fair amount of testing with products that have video. And it's really interesting because we put products on site which have video and they do better. But people don't always watch the video. So I don't know if they have the sixth sense that they know there's a video coming, so it must be amazing, so I'm gonna buy this product. But if you do have video, that's great, right? And it doesn't need to be a 30-second, television advert in 4K or whatever. It just needs to be a short snippet of like a really cool piece of what your experience is, really showing that moment that your experience delivers to the customer, that aha moment, or that oh wow moment.
Yeah.
And just getting that video on site is awesome. And again, like we can push it out via socials. There's so much we can do with video. And if you tag Make Every Moment Count, then anyone who goes to that, to those portals, if you will, or where you look at all the hashtag content, they'll see that lovely video. And I think, video is cool. I mean, you were just up in the Hunter a couple of weeks ago shooting for hot air balloon rides, right? And it's absolutely drones and
that's
right. Gorgeous.
And we're off to Six Head in Sydney tomorrow to do another run. So,
Oh, you're just going to lunch.
Yeah. I'm not sure record it. That's what's happening.
I think just to build on that point around video as well, that absolutely, share your videos with us as best you can. But also, when we look at content and
we just had a question. How should we share video content? Cheers, Andy.
Oh yeah. So share it with your market managers. Yeah, absolutely. Just ping it over, and then it will go to our product team who will manage that. But I think when you do shoot video, when you look at video, and again, we can do another session on this potentially, not to drop myself in it, but think about how do you put people in that? People convert much better when they watch videos with people in it. And how do you capture the emotional, the benefit to Matt's point of your experience in that video? If you watched it and you looked back, would you buy that product? I think consistently put that lens over your video and get people thinking about it that way.
Yeah. And we can help you. We can help you edit it or whatever it is. We can get snippets out of it. We can include it in our video. So there's a lot of ways we can work with you on that.
Absolutely. Father's Day. What's happening at Father's Day? What are we...
Yeah, sure. So Father's Day, as you know, is a huge hallmark for all of our brands. And it will continue momentum for Make Every Moment Count. So as Matt said before, we used to sort of focus on our key hallmarks, and that was the sort of the big extent of our marketing plan. But as we've built our brand over time and we consistently see content coming through and a huge demand in market right now, we'll continue momentum from our Make Every Moment Count launch. Make Every Moment Count will be consistent in the Father's Day messaging. Each brand will go to market in its own way under Make Every Moment Count, but it will still be front of mind. It will still be front of the creative, and that will roll out as it normally would. So be, a fully integrated campaign.
Yep. Stephanie Davis has asked, with another wave of COVID coming, how would you approach your experience boost? Are they still set back by the virus control? I think we've spoken to that in terms of adventure awaits, and give a gift voucher for someone to go on a hot air balloon ride or whatever after the wave passes. Yeah. And okay. I'm just
You've got so many devices there.
I know. I'm getting
so many channels,
chat and questions. Lindsay, I've got your question, and I'll actually come back to you directly after the webinar, if that's okay.
Apparently, Lindsay, yours was more of a private message.
Okay. There's another question about how to get content to us. Just send it to your market manager, or to supplypartners@thebigredgroup.com.au. Here's a question. Has the marketing team noticed any changes in the mix of platforms that best engage prospective buyers in the climate we are in? I.e. the traditional Big Red Group website they go and find versus Facebook and Instagram. So has our channel mix changed? Has our channel mix changed during this period? I think that's right, Graham. Let me know in the chat if it's not. But,
well, Graham, we'll go with that, and if it's not,
yeah.
then re-ask the question.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure, absolutely. So I think no is the top line question. You know, we see channel mix fluctuate over time anyway, but I do think we've seen increased performance in the channels we do play in, and we've been more selective with the media buy, the bigger media buys that we buy for a reason. So we're more pointed towards regions and areas than we've ever been before due to obviously various restrictions. But from normal platforms and especially digital platforms, you know, we see success regularly in platforms like YouTube and Facebook, but more than ever, the CPCs and so on in Facebook and YouTube have gone down. So our content is more relevant, it cuts through, and we're working to continue to optimize that and take the learnings, like you said, from the last rodeo in this situation and roll them out. So I think our channel mix is similar in what we're doing, and I think people are still looking the way they're looking, but they have more time on channels like Facebook and YouTube for the obvious reasons.
I guess probably the bigger change, and it's not just seen in our industry, it's pretty much seen across the board, is device mix. So again, you know, a lot more people are on mobile devices than on desktop. So again, that improves both our, you know, we have to look at our conversion rate to improve that experience in terms of our CRO, but also again, go back to content, that our content is fit for purpose for mobile. And it may seem, you know, unimportant, but it's really important. Like even on Instagram, that it's shot in portrait and not landscape, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we can help you with that if you need help on how to provide the best type of content to cut through on those social channels. You know, we can work with, you know, with you guys or with the supply partners to really get the right content that makes sure that when people are browsing on their mobile, they're having the best experience and they're actually seeing relevant and engaging content.
I think actually just to make another point on that is that, you know, as we do move forward, channel mix is vital for us. It's something we watch so closely and, you know, monitor and optimize consistently. So it's important, to Matt's point, that you have, when you share content, even if we're not using it right now, that we have adaptability with that content. Because, you know, as things change and stories become more of a focus than, you know, horizontal videos, we need to be able to adapt that content.
Yep. Got a question, probably for me. With gift vouchers, our prices have increased due to suppliers changing for wine tasting. Do we have to honour the original cost? It's a complex question. There's a lot of changes in fixed cost structures and variable cost structures, availability of products. So obviously some prices are going to inflate for a time. We're happy to work with you on an individual basis. What some providers are doing is putting up the RRP for new suppliers in order to dilute the gift voucher redemptions that are coming through for a period. But we're happy to talk to you on an individual basis to work out what best works for you. So thank you for your question. Thank you. Question from Craig Wickham to all panelists. Are you seeing an increase in value-centered purchasing, social and/or environmental? That sounds very marketing-y. Over to you, folks.
So can you ask the question again? Value?
Sure thing. Value-centered purchasing, social and/or environmental. So I guess.
Yeah. So picking up on the consumer piece. Yeah, sure. No, I'll let Matt build on this, but absolutely, I think, you know, that's not going to change. You know, as we move forward as a world, you know, everyone is much more focused on what they can do to reduce their impact and how we have a thought or how we have an engaged process and what that means and how they can make a difference for those bits and pieces. I think any suppliers that are doing any work right now to move the environmental needle or the social needle should always tell us, you know, always tell your market manager what makes your product different or unique, because it's fundamental that we move forward in that direction. You know, it's a focus for all of us as humans, but actually for consumers, it sits in the back of their mind. So although it doesn't necessarily drive huge conversion for us right now, it'll become more and more important.
Okay. And have we made any inroads on the sustainability piece? Is that happening? Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, we're working with someone now to look at what does our sustainability proposal look like? What's our platform look like? And what's our sort of like 10-year plan? I think it's safe to say, we probably won't be able to change the world single-handedly overnight, but actually developing a plan which we could all engage with. And I was actually on the Adrenaline site last night looking for some things to do. Going to be up in Palm Cove in a few weeks. All things considered, we don't shut down New South Wales. So if anybody else from Palm Cove, let me know. Happy to say hi. But anyways, I'm looking on the Adrenaline site last night, and it was really cool because we actually have experiences that say this experience has a high level of environmental friendliness and stuff. And what I'd love to be able to test is, does it matter if we put that label on products that they actually do have a level of environmental or socioeconomic, when we look at the SEE, does that actually matter, and do consumers like that? I think what we'll see is that, I think we've realized that coming, through this COVID period, is that consumers have reevaluated things, right? They have somewhat reevaluated how they consume, what's important to them. We've seen a massive reduction on environmental damage as a result of, less flights and commuting and shipping and et cetera, et cetera. So I think people will reevaluate, and we want to be part of that because, I think we all feel a personal obligation to it as well as, a professional obligation. And I think, in our category, it's a really cool thing, and it doesn't need to be the biggest thing in the world. If you don't offer plastic water bottles, but you have a glass water bottle on your experience, that's probably a step in the right direction. So, we're going to be working very closely, obviously, with you guys and then with the supply community to say, well, how do you address it? And is it even on your radar? Do you educate your customers when they come about the impact that you're trying to reduce on the environment? And so, again, we don't have to offset every carbon, whatever in the world, but how can we start to look at this and go on a journey together and really start to address this, both here and then hopefully that ripples out, more globally as well.
And it's all relative, right? So an experience like a V8 track day, for example, the cars are as efficient as they can be. They manufacture, I believe, their own piston heads, for example. So it's really, if you look at a category like motorsports, you might not think it's the greatest ecological sort of experience on the planet, but actually they're doing their damnedest to make it as sustainable as it can be.
I think, again, going back to the content piece and the role content plays in these things, how do you tell that story? And I think, how do you cut through stereotypes and initial biased thoughts? And if that is the case, when you do build your content and shoot your content, think about the storyline and what that means.
Sure. Okay, I think we're going to call it a day. So just like to say thank you very much for attending and viewing and for your questions. I appreciate it. I've recorded all of these questions, so I'll get back to the ones that we didn't have time to answer. And thank you. Have a great day.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.